I was born on a cold winter day in January 1931. It was Highland, Utah County. I was born to a good family with parents who loved me. I'm the middle of 11 children. My father was Oscar Hurst Hall and my mother was Nida Mary Adamson. We lived on a farm and we were our own playmates. My father's parents were good, strong Christian people who converted to the Church of Latter-day Saints in the beginning of the 1900s. Their ancestors were early Americans who helped to win the War of Independence in the Revolutionary War. My mother's grandparents were also converts to the church from Scotland. My parents told me the day I entered the family. I was born at home and with my grandmother and a doctor there. I weighed 6 pounds and 6 ounces. Had lots of dark hair. And I got my name after my Aunt Alta, who wasn't able to have children, but she adopted one. And she took care of me when I was born and always was kind and good to me. My brothers and sisters are very dear to me, and at this time they're all still alive. We're living up there on the farm. It was a big depression going on, so we hardly had very much money, but we had plenty of food to eat. One thing that was really great is we lived by our Adamson grandparents, and they were like a great resource for us. They always could come down and help us when we needed them, and especially if somebody got sick, we sent for Grandma to come down, or if they got cut. My mother couldn't take blood, so she'd have to send her mother to come down and take care of the kids if they got sick. Well, my most memorable year was when I was in the 2nd grade and our house burned down. And that is still with me today. When I talk about it, I still get emotional like I was the day that our house burned down. It was the middle of winter time. We were at school and we heard the fire engine going off. And we didn't know where it was going, but we walked down to the fire station and they told us it was going to Highland to our Oscar Hall's house. There was nothing left of the house. And I think there was about a few months later, Dad had built another house for us to live in, a basement house. But things were so different in our days. And baths were taken on Saturday night. So you'd be all ready for Sunday, and all your clothes was prepared, so Sunday you was ready. It was cold, it seemed like, in our days, and there was no heat in our bedrooms, so we slept under heavy covers and sometimes had frost on top of our covers in the mornings. I think so much of my sisters. There's 4 of us now because one died. A baby had died. My mother was always called Mama, and Dad was called Daddy. Even up till he died, we still called him Daddy. And my mother was always the one I ran to when I needed help, because I tattled to her all the time about my brothers, and then I'd have to run for her to save me. They used to tease us a lot. And actually, Mama was the boss at our home. And we could get Dad to let us do about anything, but he'd always say, you have to go ask your mother first. And we knew then that we couldn't do it when he'd say that. There's some wonderful things I had about my parents. And thinking of my dad as though it was yesterday, and he's walking from the barn to the house, and there's winter on, carrying 2 buckets of milk, steaming milk, with a big cat coming behind him. And he stops and he gives his cat the milk. And it just, as I'm watching out the window, I watch him do this. Another time when I was a little kid, and I think I was first grade, I wanted some money so bad and nobody had anything. But I waited for Dad to come in from the barn, and I asked him, I knew not to ask Mother. I asked him, did he have any money I could have? And he got in his pocket, and he got around in there, and he found out some coppers. He gave us a few coppers. Coppers were called pennies, but we called them coppers. And he gave me 2 or 3 coppers, and I went to school with that. And I noticed that when he was looking for his money, he only had hardly nothing in his purse. And so when I got on the bus and went to school, I was able to buy a lot of candy with 2 coppers. Our parents always insisted that we work. The girls especially did. We did everything in the house, making beds, cooking, and doing the dishes. And then in the winter time or summertime, we helped on the farm too with hauling hay and tending the cattle and all the things we had to do. Our brothers had a lot of work to do on that farm too. There's some things that's really important to me. One was, you talked about my baptism. I remember very well the day I was baptized. And my dad and mother taking me down to the stake center to be baptized. And then having to go up on the stand in sacrament meeting while they confirmed me. And I just think I never will forget that. All my life I believed there was a Heavenly Father, and I believed the church was true. And as I grew up, got older, I even understood how to give a stronger testimony of the truthfulness of it, which I really do have. And I was happy to receive my patriarchal blessing. And in that blessing, one thing that a girl at my age was always looking for, I think I was only 13 though, about if you'd get married. And mine said that when I looked for a man to marry, what kind of a man I should look for. And one who would support us and was a hardworking man. And as you read about it, exactly the guy I got. And we met him only a few years later. I guess when I was 16, I met Merrill. I hope sometimes you can read my whole story that I wrote before I've had the strokes, which was easier then than now.